The US Open has always been more than just a tennis tournament. Yes, it's about blistering forehands, punishing rallies, and five-set epics beneath the electric New York skyline. But it's also about the stories that spill beyond the painted lines of Arthur Ashe Stadium, moments that capture the imagination in ways statistics never could. And in 2025, one such moment belonged to two of the brightest young stars in the sport, Carlos Alcaraz and Emma Raducanu. It wasn't a Grand Slam triumph, nor a thunderous ace down the tee. It was, instead, a lighthearted quiz 15 seconds of unscripted honesty that sent shockwaves through the tennis world. A simple question, delivered in a playful this or that challenge, circulated among more than 20 professionals, left fans reeling. Kiss on the first date, yes or no? Seated shoulder to shoulder, Alcaraz and Raducanu were caught completely off guard. Carlos' fiery Spaniard and reigning face of men's tennis reacted first. Jesus! He exclaimed, laughter bubbling up as his posture betrayed his nerves. His boyish grin, his awkward fidgeting, even the hint of color rising to his cheeks. All of it was captured on camera. Emma, in a stark contrast, sat composed and unshaken. Without hesitation, she lifted her response card high. Enemy! A single word, silent but decisive, and delivered with the kind of understated firmness that only Raducanu could muster. The audience laughed, and social media soon erupted. Her dismissal of the idea carried an unmistakable hint of British understatement, half serious, half playful, while Carlos, mischievous as ever, raised the opposite card, friend. He then leaned in with casual defiance. Okay, I could agree. Yes, that contrast. His nervous boldness against her calm refusal was dynamite. Within hours, the clip had circled the globe, clipped, edited, slowed down, and set to romantic soundtracks by fans on TikTok and Instagram. For many, it was no longer just a quiz. It was evidence. Evidence of chemistry, evidence of difference, evidence that the sport's brightest young stars were not merely athletes, but cultural figures in their own right. And so, while champions battled for Grand Slam glory under the bright lights of Flushing Meadows, millions more clicked to watch a 15-second exchange about dating etiquette. It was, in every sense, a new chapter in the theater of modern sport, one where the line between professional achievement and personal intrigue grows ever thinner. The viral quiz did not stop with that single question. No, it unfolded into a sequence of playful disagreements and unexpected alignments that painted a fuller portrait of two young athletes caught in the crosshairs of sporting fame and cultural fascination. After the kiss on the first date bombshell, the quizmaster pressed on, "Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?" Carlos, quick on the draw, grimaced and shook his head. "No, please," he answered with the conviction of a man defending tradition. Emma, however, hesitated. Almost apologetically, she lifted her card. Friend. And then, with the kind of disarming politeness that has long been a hallmark of her interviews, she smiled and added softly, "I'm so sorry." The exchange was golden. Two global stars disagreeing on one of the world's most trivial yet divisive debates, captured with humor and grace. It wasn't just their answers that resonated, but the way they handled the tension. Carlos emphatic, Emma charmingly diplomatic. Fans replayed the clip endlessly, dissecting every smile, every sideways glance, every flicker of amusement in their eyes. And yet it wasn't all disagreement. When karaoke appeared on the screen, both nodded enthusiastically, almost in unison, as if sharing a private memory. Crocs? The eternal battle between comfort and fashion? Both admitted to choosing comfort, shrugging off any notion of style. Even the divisive question of removing shoes on a flight drew identical sheepish grins. Guilty, both of them. It was, in the simplest terms, a portrait of humanity. Behind the polished press conferences and the relentless grind of professional tennis lay two 20-somethings who, like millions of others, laughed about pizza toppings, confessed to bad habits, and revealed quirks that statistics could never capture. For Alcaraz, the moment added dimension to his public image. He is hailed as tennis's next great male champion, a ferocious competitor with the potential to dominate for a decade. Yet here, stripped of rackets and trophies, he was just a young man, awkwardly navigating a question about romance. For Raducanu, who has lived under the glare of the British media since her stunning 2021 US Open victory, it was a reminder of her poise and wit. Her answers were not rehearsed, not packaged. They were instinctive, a refusal to be boxed in, even in jest. This was more than filler content for social media. It was a microdrama, a 15-second stage play where two stars revealed more about themselves than hours of match analysis ever could, and the timing could not have been better. In the middle of New York, with the roar of the crowd echoing across Arthur Ashe, the world paused not for a tiebreak, but for a glimpse of unscripted authenticity. If the quiz had stayed confined to the locker room, it might have been forgotten within days. But in 2025, nothing charming, humorous, or faintly suggestive escapes unnoticed. Within hours, the first state kiss exchange between Alcaraz and Raducanu had been clipped, remixed, and reimagined across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Memes proliferated. Fan edits paired the footage with slow-motion zooms, romantic soundtracks, and captions that turned a fleeting grin into a storyline. The response was extraordinary. Some fans declared Carlos a bold romantic, his sheepish grin evidence of honesty and charm. Others applauded Emma's enemy card as the epitome of discipline and self-assurance. And in that tension, his spontaneity, her composure, the internet found its perfect narrative. Shipping culture, once reserved for fictional characters, now claimed the pair with full force. Every screenshot of their smiles, every glance exchanged during past mixed doubles matches was recirculated as supposed evidence. Accounts dedicated entirely to Karma or MCAR sprouted overnight, each feeding the insatiable appetite for speculation. But beyond the jokes and hashtags, there was a deeper current. Fans saw something rare. Two athletes willing, if only for a moment, to drop the armor of professionalism. Alcaraz, the fiery prodigy, was vulnerable, almost boyish in his embarrassment. Raducanu, long scrutinized by the British press, showed firmness without hostility, humor without frivolity. Together they reminded the world that tennis players are not machines chasing titles, but young people caught between expectation and personality. For sponsors and marketers, the quiz was pure gold. In an era where advertising battles for the fleeting attention of digital natives, a 15-second clip of Carlos Alcaraz blushing and Emma Raducanu smiling with quiet defiance reached further than any glossy campaign could. Authenticity sells. And this was authenticity in its rawest form. Alcaraz, already a magnet for endorsements thanks to his Grand Slam titles and exuberant style, now appeared more approachable than ever. Brands saw not just a champion, but a young man whose charm resonated across cultures. His nervous laughter, his mischievous yes to the kiss question. These weren't rehearsed slogans, they were human moments. And in sport today, human moments travel faster than trophies. For Raducanu, whose journey since 2021 had been marked by peaks of triumph and valleys of injury, the viral moment offered a reset. It reminded the public why she had become a phenomenon in the first place, not just for her historic run at Flushing Meadows, but for her wit, composure, and refusal to conform. Her firm enemy card was a masterclass in understated confidence, the kind that makes sponsors lean in. Here was an athlete who could anchor a campaign with little more than a gesture. Together, their interaction hinted at something more powerful than any individual endorsement: cultural influence. They weren't simply selling rackets or shoes, they were shaping the conversation. In boardrooms from London and New York, executives watched the numbers climb on social platforms and realized that these two young stars had become more than athletes. They were narratives, stories that could be woven into global campaigns. What made the clip so powerful was not simply its humor, but the cultural debates it unleashed. Across continents, conversations ignited over what a kiss on the first date should mean. In conservative circles, Emma Raducanu's firm rejection was praised as a sign of discipline, maturity, even tradition. In more liberal spaces, Carlos Alcaraz's openness was celebrated as honesty, youthful daring, and a refusal to overthink romance. That a single exchange could echo so differently across societies highlighted tennis's new role, less an elite pastime, more a mirror of generational values. For younger fans raised on TikTok edits and Instagram stories, the moment crystallized what sport now represents. Athletes are not just competitors, they are personalities, entertainers, and cultural figures. 15 seconds of candid authenticity often resonate longer than 5 hours of baseline grinding. In that sense, Alcaraz and Raducanu's exchange was bigger than tennis. It was a microcosm of how sport collides with lifestyle, humor, and identity. The generational divide was stark. Older commentators questioned whether too much emphasis on off-court banter risked overshadowing actual performance. Purists grumbled that memes and shipping culture trivialized the sport. Yet for millions of young followers, these clips were an entry point, a way to feel connected to players before learning to appreciate rallies and rankings. Tennis, once accused of being aloof and inaccessible, suddenly felt so intimate, even relatable. This shift matters. Every era of tennis has been defined not just by records, but by personalities that captured imaginations. Federer's tears at Wimbledon, Nadal's ferocious fist pumps, Serena's unapologetic power. These were moments that transcended the game. In 2025, authenticity and virality are the new currency. Alcaraz's sheepish grin and Raducanu's quiet firmness may prove just as enduring as any cross-court winner. As the U.S. Open 2025 rolled on, matches were won, records fell, and champions were crowned. Yet weeks later, the moment that lingered in the cultural consciousness was not a match point or a trophy lift. It was a mischievous grin, a decisive card, and a shared laugh between Carlos Alcaraz and Emma Raducanu. This is the paradox of modern sport. Its greatest victories sometimes unfold away from the scoreboard. For Alcaraz, the viral clip reinforced what pissed-up fans already sensed, that beneath the armor of a Grand Slam champion lies a young man with vulnerability, humor, and charm. Each trophy he lifts will now be colored by that humanity, making triumphs feel more personal, more relatable. For Raducanu, it was an act of subtle defiance. After years of scrutiny and speculation, she showed, in a single gesture, that she knows who she is and isn't afraid to say it. That quiet assurance could become her defining legacy as much as her U.S. Open title ever will. For tennis, the implications are immense. The sport has long wrestled with how to captivate younger audiences. Traditional broadcasts struggle to compete with the immediacy of digital culture. Yet a 15-second quiz answer captured imaginations globally. Organizers and sponsors will take note. Moments of authenticity, however trivial they appear, are now central to the game's survival in a crowded entertainment landscape. But there is also a challenge. Fame today is amplified, accelerated, and unforgiving. Every smirk, every slip of the tongue, every nervous laugh is magnified 1,000 times online. Virality can inspire affection, but it can also create pressure. Both Alcaraz and Raducanu will have to navigate that delicate line between being authentic and being consumed by interpretation. Early signs suggest they are ready. He meets scrutiny with humor, she with composure. Perhaps that is why their dynamic works so well. Not as a romance. That remains fan fiction, but as a cultural duet. He is exuberance. She is restraint. He is spontaneity. She is resolve. Together they offer a contrast that feels authentic, a puzzle whose pieces do not perfectly match, but create a compelling picture when placed side by side. When future generations look back at this era of tennis, they may recall Alcaraz's dominance and Raducanu's breakthrough. But they will also remember the 15 seconds that made the world smile. Because in sport, as in life, it is not only the victories that endure, it is the humanity behind them.